I'm going to be replacing my old Centurion power converter in my 1999 A-Liner, and so I purchased a new PD 4100 power converter, and I purchased it from Best RV and Truck Supply, and not much to look at right here. So I hope it's the same size. I haven't measured it yet, but I believe it's the same size as the old one, and so I'm going to measure it before I go too far. But let's begin. So the breaker my original breaker has two wires coming into the 15 amp side and one to the 20, and so the two of the wires, the 20 and one of the 15s, are very stiff, and I'm sure that they feed these power cords here. Though the other 15 that's rather flimsy goes into the converter right here, which I think is the same as what this wire would be, that I've got labeled over here on the new one, that goes into the bottom of either side of the branch circuit. Really, the guy said the 15 amp side is fine. I was having trouble to figure out the wiring instructions because it showed the hot wire coming in, the AC wire coming in here, and of course the white would go here and the ground here, and then it showed the hot going into here, which didn't make any sense to me because on the old one the hot came into the upper side of this bus. But what the old one did not have is a main breaker, and so I had to order a 30 amp main breaker. The hot wire from the shore power will come into the bottom of the 30 amp, and then that will feed this bus, and then this breaker will go into this side of the new one. So that made sense to me, otherwise it was confusing me very much. So I think that I now understand enough that I can go ahead and start taking some of this apart. I'm going to start by taking the breaker off to reuse on the new side, the new converter, and then I'm going to go ahead and take the shore power off. I'm going to start there and see where it takes me. I'm going to go ahead and remove these power cords. And so I'm going to remove these grounds, and then I'm also going to remove the associated white neutral wires. I've got the shore power disconnected. There it is right there. And I've also got the A-Liner 120 volt connectors, wires disconnected, and I took these protectors off the back and I will reuse them on the new one. So I'm going to go ahead and hook up those same wires to the new one. Based on the wiring instructions on the old converter, I have now labeled all of the wires that connect to the old converter. Okay, I haven't disconnected anything, but now, because I'm going to throw the old converter away, even though I've got the wires labeled, I am going to cut the old wires and remove the converter, leaving the old wires in place with the wire nuts. Even though I've got them labeled, I'm just doing that as an extra precaution, and when I wire up the new one, I'll remove the old wire. So now that I've got everything labeled, I think I'm ready to go ahead and pull the old one completely out and put the new one in its place and begin wiring it up. I've got the new converter in place. I don't have it hooked up in the back yet, but the front's hooked up. So we've got the 15 amp and the 20 amp wires coming in, and they're hooked up. It's kind of a rat's nest. And this black wire goes to the 15 amp as well as the 15 amp Romex wire. And then there's a blank spot there for the main. And then I haven't, of course, hooked up the black for the main. That comes in right there with the green and the white. But I've got everything else hooked up here, and now I'm going to hook up the back. I had to cut the hole bigger. I was told it would fit, but it didn't fit, so I had to cut the hole a little bit bigger. I've now got it hooked up in the back. I've left the tags on. Again, it's kind of a rat's nest, but you can see that this goes to the battery positive. This one on the end, the white one, goes to the battery negative, and then the others just go depending on how many circuits you want to use. I'm not using this circuit here, so I'm going to cap it off, even though there won't be a fuse on the other side. And so I think it's all hooked up. Here's the other side, and you can see I won't put a fuse where I'm not using a wire. But that's pretty much it. Took longer than I had hoped, but it wasn't too bad. I have finished all the wiring, and I've plugged it in, turned it on. I got my 30 amp breaker installed. Everything seems to work, and nothing blew up so far as I can determine. My voltmeter works. It looks like it's putting power to the battery, because before I turned the main breaker on, it was showing 10 amps, and now it's showing 14 volts. And so it must be putting power to the battery. Now, I also moved the battery. I didn't like it under our bed, and so I moved it, and I put it out here. And I don't know whether I'll make this permanent or not. Right now it's temporary, so I can put the battery out here when we reach where we're camping, and I can move it inside if I want for storage or for usage in there as well. So I've just right now got both the battery cables and the shore power coming out of the same hole right there. So I think I'm done. And I'm satisfied that it's working.